Hell yeah! What is going on, Eagles fan? Welcome to Eagles Pregame Live. My man Eric from Philly Sports Alliance is joining me to break down top matchups to watch, how to take down the 6-9 Saints. What's going on, Eric?
Not too much, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, bro, man. Let's jump right in, guys. If you're watching this, please give this video a like, subscribe, comment your thoughts on what you think about this matchup with the Saints. Eagles go for the top seed here today if they get the W. Let's just go into kind of the injury report. Ian Rappaport, the big news here, Marshawn Lattimore, who hasn't played since October 9th, will play today. Chris Olave is also expected to go against the Birds. I'm really interested in Olave, man. He didn't play last week against the Browns due to a hamstring injury, but he leads the Saints with 63 catches, 940 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's got a slight frame, but dude is an amazing route runner. I'm excited to see him go up against this Eagles pass defense, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's going to be a big time matchup. This is a guy who I know in both of our pre-draft coverage last year, we were all in on. Both of us loved him for the Eagles with one of their 2 first-round picks that they had a year ago.
Yep.
Look, and they always say in the draft, the one thing you can't get is a veteran receiver. Well, the Eagles found a way to get a veteran receiver in the draft with A.J. Brown. But, I mean, if they hadn't, you liked Chris Olave in that slot for the Eagles, and now we get to see him this week against the Birds.
Yeah, and you look at Josiah Scott, who's gotten picked on in recent weeks, and Darius Slay hasn't been at his best in recent weeks. That is definitely someone to look after in this one. Yeah, let's jump right into Eagles offense versus Saints defense. The Saints are 9th in yards allowed, 14th in points allowed. They're pretty good there. You saw Minshew last week. He played a pretty good defense against Dallas. He led the Eagles to 27 points and nearly 450 yards. Where this matchup comes down to, I think, is in the red zone. The Eagles lead the league with a 72.2% conversion rate inside the red zone, and the Saints are a top 5 defense inside the 20, holding opposing offenses to a touchdown rate of 48.8%, man. This is a defense for the Saints that has been definitely getting better. You look at in recent weeks, the last 4 games, 10, 18, 17, 13. The defense is holding offenses down a little bit. So I'll throw it to you, man. Like, what's something you're watching for between the Eagles offense and the Saints defense?
Well, I think you just touched on it, that red zone conversion rate. The Eagles, they have 31 rushing touchdowns this year. That's a ton of rushing touchdowns. Now, I know a number of those are Jalen, and you're not going to have that today, another game where Jalen's out, Gardner Minshew's up. And look, if Gardner Minshew can play the way he did most of the game against Dallas, I think he'll be okay. Now, the problem is you got to protect the football. And they were not protecting the football on Christmas Eve. You got to play better in that area. And this is strength on strength. The Eagles are a good rushing team, and they're a good red zone offense, and they're going against a great red zone defense. So strength on strength, that's got to be a matchup you're looking at.
Absolutely. I'm really interested to see how A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith attack, Lattimore, Alontae Taylor, who's really come on here in recent weeks for the Saints. And then Paulson Adebo. This is a guy, if you look at the numbers, when opposing offenses have targeted him, 45 of 67 passes, 561 yards, 8.4 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 0 receptions versus Adebo, and a passer rating of 117.8. So you're going to see the Saints run a lot of 2 high safeties. That's definitely something the Eagles should be able to exploit. This is a pretty talented young secondary, but I don't see any reason why A.J. Brown and Devontae should not feast in this matchup.
Right, and in particularly in between the 20s. That's where this team, they're going to get yards in between the 20s. Like you said, playing those 2 high safeties. that's going to give the Eagles in the middle of the field, Gardner Minshew, very good at taking what a defense gives you. And the problem's going to be once they tighten up in the red zone, that's going to be like what gives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you look at Minshew last week, he actually really did well in play action. If we'll get to this soon when we talk about top matchups, because I want to talk about Miles Sanders, but like if the Eagles are able to cement their will in the run game, play action should really do well for the Eagles today. Minshew was 7 of 8 for 149 yards and a touchdown on play action and RPOs last week. So let's get into this. Let's get into our top matchups to watch. Eagles offense versus Saints defense. For me, I'm thinking it's going to be Jack Driscoll at right tackle. That's just my guess at this point. You look at Cam Jordan. He's a very good player, arguably the best pass rusher there. Probably their best pass rusher. But no Lane Johnson, man. No, like
that hurts. That hurts a lot.
Really struggle. The Eagles are 9-21 without Lane Johnson.
So something you don't hear a ton is the Eagles' record without Lane Johnson, and the reason you don't hear that a ton is because they're not without him a whole lot. But that really stings. It really stings a lot, and like you said, in particularly that matchup with Jordan against Driscoll, and you're gonna have to move a tight end over there to help out Driscoll a lot, I think.
I agree. And then Eagles offense, Saints defense wise, Miles Sanders, man. This has Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders game written all over it, man. Because you look at the last 2 matchups against the Saints. I know it's Jalen Hurts, but he's been running all over the Saints. It sucks to not have him here today. And Gardner Minshew is not anything remotely close to Gardner Minshew, but the Eagles ran for at least 240 yards the last 2 matchups against the Saints. At that point, like I remember freaking out because that was like one of Jalen Hurts' like coming out games. I remember that one juke he had, and touchdown. That was one of the highlights of the year. It was
that
amazing.
Game, I loudly in my seats proclaimed that's my bleeping quarterback, and I remember thinking, I'm just like, that's my dude. Like that's it. I'm sold. And then, of course, the next week he lays an egg against the Giants, and it was
what a difference like a year makes. Like it's just wild. It's just nuts that we're sitting here just hoping for health, hoping just to get through the game relatively in cruise control, and we can just stay healthy. Big Al's chiming in. I think Jack Driscoll can handle it today. I do too.
I think this is a real step-up moment for him. This is like if he's going to get another contract in this league, which as a backup offensive lineman, he's probably going to get to bounce around some in the league. Like, this has got to be one of those games where he puts this game on tape and sends us around to the league when he's free agent and he wants to get signed somewhere as that extra offensive lineman. Like he needs this to be that moment.
Yeah, and Cam Jordan is not Parsons. He's not Bosa. Like
no.
I think we'll be okay. But going back to Miles Sanders, like I said, the Eagles over the last 2 games against the Saints, at least 240 yards on the ground in each of those games. The Saints overall have allowed 145 or more rushing yards in 7 of 15 games this season. They've given up more than 200 yards on the ground in 3 games. From everything I hear, Miles Sanders is ready to go. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He's been a full participant on Thursday. I forget what it was earlier, but so I think if he's healthy, just feed him.
Yeah, he should feast today. Yeah.
That's going to open up everything downfield for AJ and Devontae. So that's what I'm starting at. So for me, Miles Sanders, huge matchup, huge game potentially, like over 100 yards. We'll get into player of the game predictions, but I'm kind of like revealing my cards here. But I'm definitely feeling a Miles Sanders game in this one. Let's go in. Do you have any other matchups to watch there?
I look at, like you mentioned, some of the Eagles receivers against the Saints secondary. Like I'll look at AJ Brown against Lattimore, and he should, I think, have a good game. Like Lattimore just coming off an injury. This has got to be a moment where you just isolate that matchup. And even though it seemed like there was a great rapport between Minshew and Devontae Smith, I think this is an AJ Brown game. I think he goes over 100.
I agree. Let's jump right into Eagles defense versus Saints offense. really want to see the Eagles bounce back this week defensively. They struggled against Dallas. The Saints are 22nd in points scored, 22nd in offensive DVOA. You have Andy Dalton as your quarterback. Let's talk about some keys here between the Eagles defense and Saints offense. You lead us off, man.
Yeah, again, this is going to come down to what can your pass rush do for you, and that takes so much pressure off of guys. Like, we looked at Josiah Scott last week, who had a horrendous game. Like, it was terrible. And even Slay, he had a bad game, allowing T.Y. Hilton die off the streets and coming in and just, granted he played in the league for 400 years roughly before, and now he comes in at 812 years old and burns the Eagles for that 30-something yard completion on what is it, third or fourth and 30? Like that was ridiculous. But this has got to be a bounce back moment for him. I look at Slay, and I think he's too good to let that haunt him 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So I look at Slay against Olave as a big matchup.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch for sure. Just real quick about Andy Dalton. You're not gonna be a contender with Andy Dalton at quarterback. But one thing he is really good at is handling play action. He's against, and especially the blitz. I meant Andy Dalton's really good at handling pressure. You look at against 5 rushers, Andy Dalton has 9 touchdowns and 1 interception on 80.
Good thing we never blitz, huh?
We have seen less blitzing from the Eagles lately, from Jonathan Gannon, for better or worse. Then you look at against 4 or less rushers, Andy Dalton has 9 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So
that's not good.
That's not good. So you're not going to see Gannon blitz. If you want more blitzes from Gannon, this isn't going to be the week.
Don't put on this game tape. If you're looking for blitzing and heavy pressure, don't put on this game tape, Eagles fans.
Absolutely. That's definitely something to note there. But really, when it comes down to slowing down the Saints offense, it's all about Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. That's huge. You look at Taysom Hill, he didn't really get a lot of touches early on last week, but when he gets the ball, man, he is pretty dynamic. He's the Swiss Army knife for the Saints, at least offensively. He's run for 6 touchdowns. He's caught 2 touchdowns. He's thrown 2 touchdowns. How about this stat, man? I said this earlier on Birds of the Roundtable. The Saints are 14-1 when Taysom Hill has at least 7 carries in a game.
Oh, wow.
14-1. That's ridiculous. That's one of those, that's like too absurd to even, like, if you're the Saints, why don't you just script like 14 of your first 16 plays for him to run the ball? Yeah, exactly. So they need to take that guy out early and often, man. That's you saw Justin Fields kind of carve up the Eagles defense against the Bears earlier. So Taysom Hill averages 6.6 yards per carry. And that's, here's another stat. This is per Shane Half, my man. The Saints are the best team in the NFL when utilizing play action, but they also run it the lowest.
That's crazy.
that's like a Doc Rivers stat when like the Sixers are the best cutting team in the league.
They never cut. Yeah.
They never do it.
Well, it was funny. I actually looked at something. Now I'm one of those, like, I look at like next level stats. So like one of my favorite stats are percentages of plays where you run motion on offense.
Nice.
And I looked at one, this was 2 years ago when the Eagles weren't good, and it was like they had the 3rd fewest plays where they ran motion. And when I looked at the 5 worst, like they were all picking in the top 5 of the draft. And I'm like, well, gee, this is obvious to me. You got to run motion. It's basically a cheat code. It's like a way for you to tell what the defense is doing. And there's no way for them to really get around it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to run man and not run a guy out in motion with the motion guy. Like, you can't do that. And you're not going to play zone but send somebody out there with them. That doesn't make sense either. Mm-hmm. So it's the easiest thing in the world, and that's why I always look at every year the teams that run motion or the teams that run it the fewest are usually going to be among your 5 worst teams.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely agree. So yeah, slowing down like TJ Edwards versus Kamara is going to be so big. The Saints have not had more than 4 yards per carry in their previous 8 games. But you know, Kamara, if he gets out in the open field, man, the dude is still
He can still make people miss. Yeah,
absolutely. Any other matchups to watch here? I mean, we kind of touched on the Eagles' pass rush. Obviously, has been elite. Shout out to Josh Sweat. I think
first touchdown last week.
That interception pick 6 was unbelievable. One of my favorite plays ever.
I really thought we were on our way to a big win, and it was going to be a Merry Christmas. And
yeah.
Thankfully, I just got drunk. It was Christmas Eve at my uncle's house, and it used to be my grandmother's house. She passed away this past year. But like, it's always a big party over there on Christmas Eve. And yeah, so this year it was just with the Eagles game added on. It was so much fun.
That was awesome. Any other matchups to watch here? Saints offense versus Eagles defense?
Again, like we talked about Kamara, like you talked about his rushing average, but still, if you let him get off, like, whenever you have balance on offense, that's always going to be better. And like you talked about Andy Dalton's ability to run play action. It all works only if the Saints running game works.
Right. Yep. Let's roll on to player of the game and score predictions, man. You start first. Who's your player of the game? What's your score?
Well, I feel like you already hinted at us who your player of the game is, so I won't take that one from you. You know what? I'll say Gardner Minshew. It has to be a game for him. I think he has to have his big shining moment. And, you take away the 4 turnovers last week, and I know that's a big thing to take away, but, like, he had a really good game. I think this is a game where he cleans up the turnovers and has himself a nice ball game.
I really like that pick. That's a really good pick. I'm going Miles Sanders. I think this is a Miles Sanders game. Like to see him clean it up a bit, after, the first 13 games, no fumbles, has 2 the last 2 weeks. Like, let's get back to Miles Sanders kind of being as good as he was early on this season. I'm thinking like 120 yards rushing, like a nice 50-yarder in this one, a couple touchdowns on the ground. Miles Sanders is my player game. I think the Eagles win this one pretty convincingly. It's a beautiful day out in Philly. Yeah. Because I think that it's probably going to be really close.
I know, and I'm going to make it unanimous, and so that's definitely going to be a close game.
Yeah, all signs point to the Eagles winning this pretty easily, but it probably won't be that easy. Quinton now saying 42-31 Eagles. I'm in that 34 to 20 range. I think the Eagles will put this away in the first half. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking a 31-10. Okay. I think this is one of those, the Saints, if they get a touchdown, I think it'll be late. I think the Eagles kind of have this one in bed. We're all kind of nursing our hangovers from New Year's in the fourth quarter. We can all just, have that extra cup of coffee, which I have my second cup right here sitting next to me, but nice.
All right. So you're 31-10?
Yeah.
All right. 34-20 for me.
So we were both around the same. Yeah.
All right, cool. That pretty much wraps it up, man. Let's do final
20-17, that's what it means.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. I would love to see the Eagles just take care of business, stay healthy, and get starters out by the fourth quarter. You'd be happy. You know what I mean?
I just want to piggyback and ask you a question here. So let's say our predictions are right today. The Eagles roll and they get the win. Next week, Jalen Hurts, what do you play him? Does he play at all? Do you play
I don't play him at all. I don't play him at all.
I think I lean that way. Yeah, just use him in practice. Let him knock the rust off in practice. I think that whole he's got to get in a game. I think that's overrated.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer.
Practices.
Yeah,
yeah.
Let him rest. and get ready because, the whole the Russ thing, like, he'll be fine.
I just don't believe in that. Like, I don't know. Like, I think if you get your practice reps, that's just as good in my mind. Like, in fact, I think that's more important because that's in a controlled environment, and you can then get them to knock the rust off in an area that you control.
Yeah, I fully agree. Big Al says 34-14 Eagles. Pretty close to my prediction too. So
yeah, we're all right around the same. Yeah.
Final thoughts, plugs, man. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully 2023 is safe and prosperous for all of us. I'll plug the Football Smack Talk show on the Philly Sports Alliance with my co-host Ryan Reese. We do Monday nights at usually 6 o'clock. Sometimes maybe a little later if he has problems with his wonderful kid. But yeah, those are my plugs.
Love it.
New Year,
we'll be back for halftime with my man Shane, and then post game right when the clock hits 0. So breaking down, reacting to everything: Eagles versus Saints, takeaways, player of the game, grades on offense and defense, all the fun stuff. If you love the NFL draft, I've done a ton of NFL draft coverage already. Covered every single position, top 10 prospects across offense and defense. Go check that out. I'm now starting a new series where I'm making a video on each position class where I'm grading or categorizing like who is the most athletic, who's the boomer bust, who is the most overrated. You know who made me look really silly? CJ Stroud last night was sensational against Georgia, and I picked him as my most overrated because I didn't like him on tape against pressure, against the blitz. He really struggles out of the pocket. Man, he looked good doing that last night. I was really impressed with CJ Stroud.
Well, he took your notes as all stuff that he could work on, so you helped him.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, he had a couple plays just scrambling, getting away from the blitz from Jalen Carter and just throwing dimes for big yards. CJ Stroud, that's my final thought is I see you. That was really impressive. What a game last night. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Both games were just incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, I can't wait for the championship. I can't wait for them to expand the college football playoff too. Like it's so fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because up until yesterday, man, like you look at that and you're like, wait, why are we trying to expand? Because all the playoff games were such duds.
They're so bad, and no one plays.
Yeah, that's a shame. What college football has become those bowl games that aren't the playoff games. It's such a shame.
Yeah,
I don't know how you can legislate in anything to control that. Like, I don't think there's anything you can do, but it is such a shame for all, for the fans who want to sit there and watch. Like, I'm a Penn State fan. I'm going to watch Penn State tomorrow against Utah. Now, I don't think there's anybody of note that's not playing for either team, but
Dalton Kincaid is not playing.
Oh, Kincaid's not playing. Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, okay. He's really good. He's a really good player.
Yeah. Let's see. I hadn't heard that, but okay. See, that's a shame to me. I want to watch, it's the last time of seeing, some of your favorites in college.
I'm excited to watch Abdul Carter. That's who I'll be watching for Penn State. That dude's a stud. Yeah. So if you love the NFL draft, go check out all those things as well. We'll see you at halftime, breaking down all of our top takeaways. So thank you everyone for watching. Please like this video wherever you're watching. Hit that subscribe button, all that fun stuff. For Eric, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.